welcome to Tea and Strumpets. I'm Kelsey. For today's On-dit, I am here to tell you all about Julie Anne Long's newest book that just came out on Tuesday. So it's quite new, and it is her newest book in the Palace of Rogues series, and it is How to Tame a Wild Rogue. Zoe and I were fortunate enough to get an arc of the book, and so we've already had the pleasure of reading it, although I could have probably devoured it in the time it just came out and when I'm recording this. So it was not a hard read. It was, in fact, a delightful read. As you know, here on the pod, we love Julie Anne Long. Her books are warm hugs, easy to digest, just one of those books that you can dive into a million times and just know you're going to come away with good, happy feelings. And I don't know what your life is like, but sometimes you just need warm hugs that are books. So to give you a little bit more, I am just going to give you my quick review, not a full review like we do on a full-length episode, but this is a quick review. So to start with, I'm going to give you my review that is on Goodreads, and then I'm going to share with you some quotes because, again, it's Julie Anne Long. The wit is palpable, and it just was so amazing to read. So on Goodreads, I gave this 4 stars. Again, objective. 4 stars for me is an amazing book. Like 5 stars is like, it just has that je ne sais quoi that makes it a 5. But for me, it's a 4. It's a stunner. And as a review, in review, I said, I found this book to be one of my favorites in the series so far. With JLA's beautiful words and wit, Lorcan and Daphne really come to life. I love how the attraction builds and the conversations are full of honesty between each other's. Y'all know how I feel about honesty and honest conversations when people are getting together. When they finally did come together, it was steamy. Whew! And it was. What was fun about this book was the different perspective we see aside from our MCs. I love the characters and the family building at the Great Palace on the Thames, and this was an excellent addition. So if you have not read this series, in this one I say different perspectives, is typically you just have perspectives of your 2 main characters. In this one, we actually get perspective again from our Lady Daring or former Lady Daring, and as well as Angelica. As well as Angelique. Is she Angelica or Angelique? Anyway, so typically we get just the perspective from the main characters. In this book, we get our amazing patrons or patronesses of the Grand Palace on the Thames. We see some points of view in this relationship. It's also really interesting. Lorcan has a relationship with both the men that married our ladies. So like the male main character has connections to the house, and so does the female main character. And they happen upon the Grand Palace on the Thames randomly. They both meet unexpectedly in the middle of the night. It is storming, the storm of a century, and Lorcan says, I know a place we can go. And of course, they must pretend to be married, so they have to spend the night in the room together. But it's really interesting. He's very much like a callous sea captain, former smuggler, never charged, currently on the right side of the law, but definitely looks to have had a hard life. And our female main character is a spinster, was once considered a beauty of the ton. When her father lost his fortune, she lost her suitors and has been acting as a companion, trying to make enough money to keep her brothers in gentlemanly style, basically. And so she's very prim and proper, and he is a gruff sailor, and it's very great to see the 2 of them come together. A perfect example is this quote here. Lorcan, have you been laboring under the delusion that symmetry is equal to beauty? Laboring under the delusion that symmetry is equal to beauty, he repeated slowly. You do say the filthiest things, Miss Worth. How she fought it. But it was a joy to watch her lose a battle with a smile. What I mean is, oh, for heaven's sakes, lass, I know what it means. I always know what you mean. I was just taking a moment to savor that sentence, every word so precise and glittering and perfectly chosen, like a diamond, and probably capable of flaying lesser men to ribbons. I've come to quite like it. I think that line is perfect is a perfect way to show how Daphne and Lorcan communicate and how they talk. Again, she's pretty Miss Prim, and she doesn't talk down to him, but she definitely has her airs, and he just thinks it's hilarious. But also he sees that she's very precise and like ordered, and he likes just ruffling her feathers a little bit, and she also likes her feathers ruffled. Here's another really great example, which again is just some fun Julianne Long wit. I do not know enough words to clutter up my sentences with them, but if I did, perhaps I would. I do know that your face went white as an Irishman's arse when Lord I love myself said the word Havelstock. She tried not to laugh, but he'd gone and punctured the dark tragedy of her mood, and some of it seeped out. She sighed and said, You couldn't have said white as a ghost? Trust me, an Irishman's arse is the whiter of the two. The final quote I have to share with you is more on the savvy side. This is more when realizations occur, but I think it's just, again, you know what? No, I'm not going to share the whole line with you because I want you to have the moment for yourself. But I'm going to start with the first line because, again, I think it shows just how much Lorcan appreciates Daphne for who she is and also how they complement each other. So the line is, and therein lay an epiphany, that fancy, beautiful word she had taught him. And that's what I love. Like, she's always using all these words, and he's like, what does that mean? And so she teaches him the words. And he's part of the reason he is where he is he pulled knowledge from nowhere. He was curious and wanted to better himself. And so he learned how to speak properly. He learned how to do this. He learned how to make his way on a ship. He learned how to write letters. He learned how to read. He did all of those things by himself. And with her, who's been up and tidy, she has like a very just precise mannerism. It's been a way of protecting herself. And again, like, he recognizes her for that internal fire. He recognizes that internal fire that she doesn't really show to anyone else. And it's just such a great compliment. And I just really love the book, and I really hope you guys get a chance to pick it up. As mentioned, this is Julianne Long's newest book, How to Tame a Wild Rogue. So do us a favor and pick it up. And yeah, so thank you all for listening to this little On-dit. Join us all next time as we read a book. I don't know what book, but we will be reading one. Thank you all again, and may all your ever afters end happily.